It has been just over a week since I ran the Marine Corp Marathon. My top 3 super shoe choices for this race were the Nike Alphafly 3, the Saucony Endorphin Elite V1, and the Puma Faststar Nitro Elite V2. After some testing and training, this is the shoe that I decided to go for on race day. Yes, the Puma Faststar, the shoe companies, they don't respect the vowels. Am I right? The Puma Faststar Nitro Elite V2. The big question I had for the shoe, unlike V1, which was designed for shorter, faster races like the 5K, is could the V2 comfortably carry the marathon distance? Well, I'm going to tell you all about it. But first, here's our agenda for this video, or our order of operations. Livestream, experience, Substack, specs, comparison, future iterations, and final thoughts. Or less kf. That's how I remember Livestream, experience, Substacks. You get it. All right, Livestream. Fam, every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll be doing a live stream. Why? Well, because Kafuzi has reduced the amount of Kafuzi Run Club live streams he's doing during the week down to 2, I believe. So I'm just trying to fill the void. The first one starts this Wednesday, November 6th. Honestly, guys, if no one shows up, I'm just gonna pretend like you're all there and I'm gonna talk to myself for an hour. So should be a good time. Had by all. Experience. Okay, let's talk about my experience running in the shoe. What does it feel like? This is the most interesting part to all shoe reviews, in my opinion, and also why I spend the most time in this section. For the fit, it's a tight one. It's tight like a tiger.
Tight like a tiger.
It's very narrow, and it has a shallow toe box. In fact, it feels more like a speed day shoe rather than a slightly roomier marathon day shoe. But it's not a deal breaker because of the upper material, the Ultra Weave. It's flexible enough to where your toes have some wiggle room. So while it's not ideal, the shallow toe box, it's not a deal breaker. Okay, for the ride experience, this is a very, very propulsive and aggressive shoe. And in my opinion, there are usually like 3 different characteristics of a shoe that give it that sensation. The first one is going to be a steep drop heel to toe. Okay, second, it's going to be a mostly pliable carbon plate or carbon rods, stiffening agent, right? And I say mostly pliable because if it's too pliable, I'm not going to get the energy return and the snap from the forefoot. And if it's too rigid, then I'm not going to put enough power down to extract the most energy return. The last characteristic is the super foam compound. So which characteristics does this shoe have? It has all 3. So we have an 8mm drop from heel to toe. We have the evolved power plate, no vowels, that extends past the toe box here and is exposed in the midsole that is mostly pliable. And then we have the Nitro Elite Super Foam, which I felt more in the heel than in the forefoot at toe off. So what does this equate to? In training, it felt like the faster I ran in it, the better it felt. So mile pace and 5K pace felt the best, followed by threshold pace and then marathon pace. However, marathon pace still felt quite incredible and effortless in this shoe. That being said, I still had 2 concerns about the shoe picking it for the marathon distance, and that is the weight and the forefoot. For the weight, this shoe comes in my size, US men's size 9, at 9 ounces or 255 grams, which I didn't really feel the weight of the shoe in training, but my concern was how would that feel at mile 20 or 21? Would the shoe suddenly feel a lot heavier? Okay, so the other concern is the forefoot, and what I mean by that is that you really feel the plate underneath the forefoot. As you can see, there's not just like a ton of foam up front. And so that's fine, 5K, 10K, half marathon distance, I'm sure. But taking it to the marathon, would I really feel that up front? Well, I have the answers. Looky here. Do you see that at mile 16? Yeah, I had to pull over because I had the sensation underfoot like I was stepping on a rock. A very small rock.
Very small rocks.
A duck.
A duck.
Okay, so like even though I know that there was no pebble that magically found its way into the shoe, I still had to pull over and double check because of that pain sensation. What I found was it's probably a muscle cramp. Disclaimer, I ran this marathon with overtraining syndrome, which means my whole entire system was fried mentally, physically. Going into the race, my muscles were already sore and fatigued. So to Puma's credit, it may not have been the shoe. And as far as the other issue, the concern, the weight, it was never an issue. This thing has eternal bounce. And speaking of eternity, our time here on Earth is very limited, okay? Which is a real bummer. So that's why you should subscribe, because then you might laugh a little at some point while watching this channel, and then you won't think about death. What a pitch. Oh, hey, I created a Substack. It's free. Okay, and let me back up. Substack, if you don't know what that is, it is a site, a website, or an app for writers. And I write really silly short stories, and I'm gonna start writing and running a little bit as well. So I'll put the link in the description below. Okay, for the specs, I lied. Okay, I'm not gonna do the specs because the shoe's been out for a while. So please go find Kafuzi's review, Believe in the Run, Aubrey, Joanna, pick your favorite YouTubers, Doctors of Running, and go watch their channel for the specs. Okay, so for the comparison portion of this video, I'm gonna compare it to two shoes. The first shoe is gonna be the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite V1. It's the only Puma super shoe that I've run in besides the one that we're talking about today. Now, this first shoe has some problems. It's not as aggressive as the Fast R because it doesn't have a super stiff plate. It's a little too pliable there. It doesn't have a steep drop. It doesn't have a rocker technology. And my concern with taking this shoe the marathon distance was it didn't have enough protection underfoot per se. So it's a bouncy shoe with the super foam that I really like, but I used it more as a super trainer or a training shoe or training companion rather than a race day shoe. All three of those problems are fixed in this shoe. So Puma is definitely moving in the right direction. Okay, and for our second comparison, we are going to compare it to the GOAT, the Nike Alphafly V1, because I think all super shoes should be at some point compared to that shoe to see how the experience is. And for the Alphafly, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the ZoomX foam, much softer. It collapses a little bit as you land on it and then transitions you over to the AirPods for me in my stride, and then it launches me forward. Now we're talking about milliseconds here, but it takes more time to roll through. You can't speed the shoe up too much, and therefore it feels more like a stride shoe. The Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite V2 is the opposite. The foam does not collapse. It is much bouncier. The ground contact time feels less, and it feels like it just bounces me along a little bit faster, and therefore is more of a cadence style shoe, in my opinion. Feedback for the future iterations, Puma, or as SJD would say, Puma. Okay. So there are maybe three things that you could change to this shoe that I would like to see, but one would be adding 2 to 3 millimeters of foam in the forefoot, just add a little bit more cushion there. You would lose a little on the drop, but it would still, the shoe is so amazing, I don't think it would really matter. The second thing would be, this is interesting, I got this size 9 and a 9.5 to see how the fit would be, and I had a different ride experience in both shoes. In the 9.5, the heel was a lot softer, which was really weird. I guess maybe because there was more foam, but it made me think, would this be like the Alphafly 1 if it kind of caught me a little bit more with the softness and transitioned me to the forefoot and launched me? The other thing would be the weight. Okay, so I don't know how to lose weight. I mean, you do have a little extra here you could lose from the forefoot, and you got a shark fin in the back for some reason, and you could lose the shark fin. I'm not sure that you need that extra piece other than to spur your competition when they get a little too close. Whoops. Okay, my final thoughts on this shoe. I would say this is a marathoner's super shoe, similar to maybe the Asics Metaspeed Paris series, the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 2, the Saucony Endorphin Elite. Those are not super accessible super shoes for the masses. They're for like very serious runners. And as somebody who's morphed into a serious runner, proven by the fact I got overtraining syndrome, I really like this shoe. I enjoy it a whole lot. I would run another marathon in the shoe despite feeling a little bit firm on the forefoot. It carried me the rest of the way. I did not feel it at the end. When I finished the race, I was not like, get these shoes off my feet. They're so uncomfortable. So, awesome job, Puma.
Work on being better when I'm 70. Your drip is just a water spring. You know I drip different, just the 7 C's. I deal with life different, make that limit.